Here we are, live from the Boca Center. Okay. All right. So let's get started. We have some hopefully very interesting and inspirational, although it's going to be maybe a strong awakening. But as we do every Sunday, let's start with shutting our phones off, please. Thank you. Okay. It's a good thing it happened now. Isn't it interesting? Timing. I had so many experiences like that. You know, if you really open your eyes, you start to see the coincidence of things. And people will generally tell us, you know, no such thing, we say, no such thing as random, no such thing as chaos, no such thing as accidental things happening. But when you use the word coincidental, we usually think of it as something that's random, right? Oh, it was just a coincidence. But you and I learn, as we're about to affirm actually, consciousness is everything. So the word coincidence, what does it mean? If you think in simple terms, coincident, two things happening at the same time. In and of itself, that doesn't mean random. If you say something is cause and effect, isn't that also a coincident? The cause and the effect come together at that point. So it's a coincident, but cause and effect is cause and effect. So we're the ones, as we're going to learn today in a stronger way, we're the ones who decide, is it random or is it not? For me, after all these years of teaching, if you really watch the world, nobody on earth believes things are random, truly believes they're random. They may say it. And when do we usually say things are random or accidental? When we didn't see the cause. We only see the effect, then we say, oh, coincidence, accident, happenstance. But you learn in the center from Kabbalah 1 forward, everything is exactly cause and effect. Even as I've shared with you over the last probably few weeks, through various things that I've experienced in these last few years, I explain to my kids and I share with you, there is nothing that's not exactly cause and effect. May not be from this lifetime, but how many of us really remember everything we did just in this lifetime, no less past lifetimes? But there's nothing that happens. Where does unfair and unjust come from? If you think when somebody says, oh, that's not fair, that's so unjust, the bad people suffering, you know, getting good things and the good people suffering, how unfair. It's not unfair if you think, well, maybe 2 lifetimes ago, this guy was somebody who tortured and tormented people under whatever the circumstances were, but then when they come into this lifetime, they have trouble in their family, they have trouble with their health, they have trouble in their business, and they say, how unjust and unfair? Because they didn't see that 2 lifetimes ago, they were taking people's lives, they were torturing and tormenting people. So in this lifetime, the torment of a bad business versus the torment of what should come back from torturing physically people in a past life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, meaning exact cause and effect. So if somebody took an eye out of somebody 2 lifetimes ago, and in this lifetime, all they have to go through is some bad business circumstances, having the choice, would they rather lose an eye or temporarily go through bad business? Which do you think most people would choose? The bad business, because that they can fix. Unfortunately, we're not at the technology yet. If somebody loses an eye, to replace an eye with something that can see. They can put the glass eye or whatever they call it now, but they can't replace it with an eye. So when you see that, suddenly you say, oh no, it's not unjust. Or thank you, Creator, thank you, Universe, that it's only a little temporary bad business, and it's not the exact cause and effect. This is what you and I are doing here in the center. We're sweetening the judgment, as it's called, as opposed to exact cause and effect. When you and I are doing those actions that we learn from Kabbalah 1 forward, uncomfortable transformational sharing, as we have a few examples today. But once you do something that's uncomfortable and yet in the frame of sharing the light, revealing the light, thinking of the good of the other person, then you're paying your debt off before it has to become collected exactly. So instead of the eye coming out, okay, bad business, pennies on the dollar, as I call it, of your spiritual debt. That's what you and I are creating here. That's why there's not so many people. I mean, you got 8 billion people on the planet. How many do you think really want to have happiness and joy all the time? 10%? 20%? Or 100%? 100%. So why don't they? Why aren't they all coming to some Kabbalah center or going online and learning with us how to have it? Because what's the first thing we teach you? You have to share uncomfortably. Well, when it looks like everything's going okay, why should I? Right? Why should I make that extra effort when it doesn't look like I have to? Because you don't see, the person doesn't see that the effect, here, let me, so they can see it, the effect of something that happened 20 years ago is about to hit. So you guys are the first ones outside these few people I had lunch with yesterday. And we'll get to our affirmation here in a minute, when one nation or whoever it is sends a rocket, right, like a bomb, a missile, into the air that's heading towards somebody else. The somebody else, what do they want to do with that rocket? Simple terms. They have anti-missile missiles, right? Shoot it out of the air. So the missile is on its way. We want to shoot it out of air before it hits. That's what uncomfortable sharing does. It shoots the missile out. So like we said with this example, instead of the I going away from that person, which is their whole lifetime now of trouble, they have a little temporary difficulty with their health or their business or a relationship or whatever it is, because they knocked out that missile from coming into their life. But when they don't, a person doesn't take the opportunity to shoot that missile of cause out of the effect that's coming their way out of the air, then it hits. And as we've talked about, which we're continuing now, what is Satan, the devil, the evil inclination, the opponent, all those names we've talked about, what does it do then? When the person doesn't shoot the missile out because they didn't do the right thing, and then, boom, the trouble hits. What does that opponent, that challenge in our head do? The angel of death, which is finiteness, says, oh, look, you didn't do this action, God punished you. It's not God punished. The effect was on the way. The missile was on the way. They just didn't shoot it out of the air. So because they didn't do the action doesn't mean that's why the bad thing happened. The bad thing was on its way. The challenge or the difficulty was on its way. They just didn't change it. By taking the opportunity, as the Zohar says, always comes the solution before the problem. Always comes the cure before the ailment. But we have to open our eyes and see it. And then we have to do that uncomfortable action of sharing. How many of you have somebody, and you don't have to raise your hands, and you online also, how many of you have somebody, just one person even, that you're still holding resentment, hatred, animosity towards because what they did to you? Got one. So what if you could see that if you could forgive that person, doesn't mean you have to hang out with them, doesn't mean you ever have to see them again, but from your side you have to forgive them what they did. If you could see that action of uncomfortable forgiving would give you blessings, take away a car accident, take away some physical injury, take away some bad business, bring you more money, bring you more love, find you the right relationship. Would it be worth it? Or would you say, oh, no. I don't want all that good. I just want to hold the anger and the resentment and the hatred towards that person because what they did. This is what you and I are learning. But most people don't have the eyes to see it. So what do we get caught up in? As I'll read to you at the end, what that negative force tells us. Be angry, hold on to it. The Kabbalah said they're crazy. Tell you, forgive that person. They don't know what they did to you. The most horrendous thing on earth. There's a guy, okay, gonna have to speed this up here because I have so much to tell you. Anyway, there's a guy that I met in 1980 that I just had a short interaction with, but over all the years, he passed away a few years ago. He was sort of a psychic, mystic, this kind of guy. He was studied by researchers in biofeedback. He could literally pierce his arm with a knitting needle, tell it to bleed, tell it to stop bleeding, and tell it to heal, and you could see it. Like in seconds, it would stop bleeding, it would heal. He had that much control over his body. And I only found out just 6 months ago. How did this start? He was being tortured and tormented in a concentration camp in the war. He was beaten so badly, he passed out from the pain. When he woke up from that passing out, he looked at the Nazi who was torturing him, tormenting him. He says, I forgive you. And instantly all the wounds healed. That's how he got started. Now, think of that person you're thinking of. Do you think they're worse than that? Some of you are probably saying yes, which is okay. I'm not here to judge it. But imagine this guy beaten and tortured and tormented in a concentration camp and could look at the torturer and say, I forgive you. But he is the one who shows us what's possible. Instant healing. Today, everybody's talking about it, no? Mind over matter, right? What do they call it? Epigenetics, right? Mind over matter. If you put your mind in the right place, now you can change all these things. Hello? Kabbalah has been telling us for thousands of years the same thing. Okay. Just to understand what's possible, what the possibilities are. Why can't we believe? Because what we want to get to, the whole purpose of the center is to get us back in the Garden of Eden. That's it. We started in the Garden of Eden. It's not that it didn't exist and we're making a Garden of Eden. All we're doing is trying to get back in. It's like they threw us out of Disneyland, and now we want to make up for whatever we did, that they didn't let us stay so we can go back in. Only this is not Disneyland. This is the Garden of Eden. Bliss of all forms you could ever imagine. You could do anything, like Karen Berg used to say, at that time, when we reached that point, people could leave their doors open, people could leave money on the streets, this and that. And like you hear now and then, the person who finds it won't take the wallet and run away with it. They'll look to bring it back to the owner. That will be pervasive in the world. Every human being on earth will act like that. That's what we're seeking. So we have to understand, it's worth it to do that uncomfortable act of sharing. And the beauty is there's no time. Well, there is a time limit, but let's stick to a little more simple for us. In essence, there's no time. You could look back that person 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 5 years ago, whoever you're holding that animosity or hatred towards. Doesn't matter how long it's been. In an instant, the light of the Creator, if you let it shine, will remove the darkness. That's all we're learning. 36 years I'm in the center. That's all I've heard. The most fundamental thing, one, consciousness is everything, and two, light will take away darkness. You walk in a dark room, how do you remove the darkness? Why don't you say, look, I'm Chaim, I'm a Kabbalah teacher. You could say you're head of the business, industry, you're a professional, you're this, that, you got a lot of money, power, position. How come that won't take away darkness? But we think in the physical world it will, right? If I have money, okay. I don't know, maybe we'll have to do this one next week. How many of us, and again, don't raise your hand because it's a little embarrassing, but how many of us still may be thinking, if I only had money, I'd be happy, everything would be okay. So back in 1994, 95, when I first moved back to LA, after 6 years being in the center, so I moved to LA in about 95. All of a sudden, when Hollywood was coming to the Kabbalah Center, we hit the international news. All over the world, everybody knew Hollywood was coming to the Kabbalah Center. So one of the reporters came to interview somebody in the center, and since I speak English relatively well, because I'm American versus all the Israelis who were there at that time, so I got to be interviewed. So they're asking, how come these people are coming to the Kabbalah Center? And I looked at the reporter, I said, look, I don't care who they are. They could be, back then I don't think there was anyone worth billions, but they could be famous and fortune and this, that, and the other thing, but they're still human, which is a common factor to all of us. So as most people will think, money buys happiness, or if they have enough money or fame or fortune, they'll have everything they want. So these people have it. They've got fame and fortune. So if they're not happy now with their money, their cars, their houses, their clothes, all the fame and fortune and everything else, where are they going to go? Another car, another house, another movie, another song. Where are they going to look for happiness? So they're going to go where every human being ultimately has to go, inside. And that's why they're coming to the Kabbalah Center. So you and I, still some of us think in some way, oh, but if I had money, if I had this, if I had that, I'd be happy. No, we already have it. We have the light of God inside us, fills our soul. Our job is just to let it out. That's it. Let out the light. Okay, let's do our affirmation. Then I'm going to work this into today. So for you here, it's here. Okay, for those of you online, you can say it with us. Make sure, yes. Okay, let's say it together to engrave this totally in our mind, fully, absolutely. Consciousness is everything. I raise my consciousness today to see the miracles and wonders of life. I commit myself to behave with greater love, compassion, and kindness towards all human beings. Just want to remind you the last part. All human beings. So that person you were thinking of, and don't tell me they're not a human being, because I can hear that already. But Chaim doesn't know, they act like an animal in this. Yeah, but they're still a human being. How we act is different from who we are. Let me ask you, you're all great, wonderful people, all of you online. Do you ever act with a little insensitivity, anger, jealousy, greed, ego, fear? I just want to make sure, okay. Otherwise, you'll be teaching me, okay. Right? So we all do, but we're all good people. We know we are, and we are. Most people consider us good people, yet we still do that. So if you just expand the intensity, so you have every person on earth, they're good people, but they're acting in a negative way. And we'll start to see why. So continuing from the last few classes on the devil, the angel of death, all these names we've given, to unmask it, to understand it's just the opponent. So, for those of you who are new, let's just start with the simplest thing. If you believe in God, whatever you call God, if you believe God is all good and all infinite, so why is there any chaos in the world? Age-old question, Chaim, that's what it is. We're wondering, every religion teaches God is good and this and this. How could God be infinitely good and then at the same time cause reward and punishment? Have you ever seen light create darkness? You're going to see it today. The light doesn't create darkness. And we'll understand, though, how the power of light creates darkness and chaos for people. Because we see chaos, but we also know the only force in the universe is the light of the Creator. There is no such thing as negative energy. There's a temporary misuse of the light, but there's no negative energy. The first class we started to talk about unmasking the devil. I think that's what we called it. We talked about if the devil had equal power to the Creator, then what would be going on in the physical world? Physically, the sun wouldn't rise every time, right? If the devil had equal power, why wouldn't the devil keep the moon 24 hours and push the sun away, right? Or at least we see a struggle, the sun and the moon fighting with each other, trying to dominate in the cosmos. We don't see that, do we? How come, right? If there were equal power, what would happen with gravity? So you'd see all the bad people, right? Wouldn't that be what the devil wants? All the bad people, when they do a bad action, they'd be levitating in the air so nobody could catch them. You follow? Or the police trying to shoot at somebody, the bullets would automatically just fall to the ground. Gravity wouldn't work in a consistent way. The laws of science wouldn't work consistently. The astronomical way that the universe goes wouldn't work consistently if the devil had equal power. But now we have to ask, if the light is the only force in the universe, so why is there darkness and chaos and confusion and hatred and anger and all of that? Why? See you next week. No, okay. So let's start with understanding. So where did this world come from? Here's the other point. Is God infinite? Or let's call it, okay, the Creator, just to distinguish for some of us. The Creator. Is the Creator infinite? Is the light infinite? Yes. Yes. So if the light is infinite, could it have created the physical universe? Not at all. Why? Because something that's infinite and eternal cannot create something that's temporary. This world, as many of you have learned if you've gone past Kabbalah 2 or 3, this world is finite. It's only going to exist for a certain amount of time, and then it has to disappear, and we will all live in an eternal bliss of the endless world. An eternal metaphysical Garden of Eden. Not that there'll be an explosion and blow it up that way. No, it'll just, like we wake up from a dream. You ever woke up from a dream? Even a pleasant dream, right? You wake up and you go, oh, why didn't I stay in the dream world? You know, facing what I got to face. Yeah, well, whatever you consider that dream world, imagine that a zillion times more. That's what the endless world is like. And that's where we're ultimately going to go back to. So yeah, we have a little bit more time in this physical world, but it's not eternal. So the Creator didn't create it. So then, Chaim, who created this world? Look in the mirror. Look around the world. Every human being on earth created this world. But back when we were one soul and nobody disagreed with each other, like you see today, we all decided from the endless world, we need to create this physical universe. We need to empower it with all the scientific laws, as we call it, and we need to understand to take the metaphysical laws from the endless world and let them be infused in this world. That's what the Zohar is telling us. The Zohar is just a blueprint of the universe. That's it. It's how we created the same way. There was an architect who designed this building, and then the builders built from the architect's drawing, right? So you and I were the architect in the endless world as one soul. We all said, this is what we need to create. And then we created it using what? The power of the light of the Creator. The force of the Creator we use to create this temporary universe and temporary bodies. And all the stuff that's here. We did. We decided. So we created this universe and we created the Garden of Eden. And we put ourselves in the Garden of Eden. Although back then we were all embodied in, let's go with the two people that they call Adam and Eve. There's nobody on earth today that didn't start as Adam and Eve. So we came in the Garden of Eden. We looked at each other, however you want to consider it. Adam and Eve looked at each other and the two trees. And as unfortunately you know from the simple code of the Bible, they ate of the tree of knowledge, which the Kabbalists say just meant they separated themselves from the light of the Creator. And what did they do? Plunge themselves into darkness. Created the first beginnings of all chaos that's existed ever since. So what are you and I doing? The 8 billion people on the planet today, ideally, are just here to interact with each other in such a loving, kind way that we start to reunite all the pieces of that one soul that shattered from 1 into 8 billion, put it back together like a jigsaw puzzle, right? You have one picture, and then they make a copy of it, then they cut it into pieces, and they separate it out. And your job, when you open the puzzle box, take out all the pieces and put them back together, back into the original picture. So that's our job. Put back together the picture of the Garden of Eden. And 8 billion happy, loving, kind, joyous people experiencing bliss, constant bliss. Not bad, is it? How many of you don't want that? Exactly. So why? So then where does the darkness come from? So, yeah, I guess we'll cut to the chase. So we are vessels, right? We've learned our soul is a container for the light of the Creator. So then we use the light of the Creator to create everything. When you wake up in the morning, you're deciding what your world will look like. How many of you have ever gotten out of bed on the wrong side? What does that mean? I'll tell you the same thing. For years and years, when they say, you get out on the wrong side of the bed, what does it mean? Somebody got out of bed in a bad mood. What's the problem with that? Because if they don't change it, they have then created their whole day negative, right? They see, like we call it, the half empty of everything, the dark side of everything. Oh, work is terrible and this is bad and everything bad because they got out of bed on the wrong side. So for 36 years in the center, I've experimented. If I sleep on this side of the bed, is that the wrong side? If I sleep on this side of the bed, which is the wrong side? Because I can get out of the same side of the bed one day in a bad mood. Thank goodness I've learned in the center how to change it to a good mood, so I recreate my world in that moment. But I get out the next day, I wake up in a good mood. So which side is it? No, our consciousness. We decide. The other example we use, how many of you ever gone to whatever, a show, a social event, a movie with a couple friends? And after the movie, you all discuss the movie. How many times ever happened that you all didn't have the same opinion of the movie? Ever happen? How can that be if you saw the same movie? The same movie, the same photography, the same thing. Why does one like it and one not? Why did one think it was great and the other thought it was horrendous? Why? Because like we just affirmed, consciousness is everything. Your pattern of thinking determines what your world will be, because it generally, unless you're learning here how to change it, your pattern of thinking will usually be the influence of your actions. And your actions set up cause and effect. That missile we were talking about. Every action sends up a missile. Some missiles will come down with peace and joy and prosperity and the right relationships. Some will come down with, unfortunately, challenges in the business, in the relationship, in the health, or what have you. But we decide. So we created the world and we're creating it every day. If tomorrow everybody on earth, or a vast majority, woke up and said, wow, thank you, Creator, universe, God, light, whatever name you want to give it, thank you for giving me another day. I so appreciate the opportunity to pay back my spiritual debt, no matter what it is, so I can have my admission back into the Garden of Eden. You know what we'd see? The whole world, like you see in some of these movies, where there's somebody with mind control and makes them think they're out in the middle of the desert in some, barren place. And then when they get out of that trance, all of a sudden they look and they're in this wonderful, lush place. That's what we'd see. We would see the Garden of Eden. We wouldn't see the earth as we see it polluted and all the stuff they talk about. We'd see the Garden of Eden. Everything there just for our benefit. Because we're creating this world. We're creating this world. So, a little more details. How does the light create darkness? The light doesn't. We do. So how many of you ever been to a movie? You ever walked out of the movie, the dark theater, into the bright sun? Generally, what's the first thing that happens? You're blinded. You're blinded. But how does the sunlight cause us darkness? The light's not causing us darkness. It's our receptivity or lack of receptivity, or whichever way you want to look at it. We're used to the darkness. Suddenly there's bright light and it's blinding. Fortunately, we've all had the experience. What do? Do you run back into the theater where it's safe and dark? Oh, good. I was waiting for some crazy person to say, yeah, I've done that before. No, you kind of cover your eyes, so you're still in the darkness, right? But you adjust your eyes. You slowly let your eyes adjust, and then you can walk normally in the sunlight. So now imagine, we're all sitting here in some form of darkness. Our fear, our anger, our jealousy, greed, ego, insecurity, sadness, hurt, judgment, jealousy, whatever it is. We're in a form of darkness. So, if the light is shining on us, we have two choices. Either we cover our eyes and go back in the movie theater, more jealousy, more judgment, more anger, more fear, right? Because there's a little comfort in that. You know the saying, until you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, you won't do anything about it. But when you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, then you'll do something about it. So we'll all go back into that darkness. Stick with our fear, hold on to our judgment, continue to be angry, to feel lack, right? Poverty consciousness, to feel jealous, all those things. Because there's a certain comfort. What's the comfort of that? Even though it's foolish, what's the comfort? I have somebody to blame for what doesn't make me feel good. Temporary relief. Makes us feel good, at least for the moment. Back in the theater. No, so when you talk about that, so then what is a challenge? We learn our purpose here is to reveal our light, to draw the light out of the darkness. So, just a reminder, we're vessels. So the Rav Berg, if you don't know him, this is the Rav and Karen. So the Rav used to talk about in the 10 Lumens emanation classes, if you have a cup, a glass, and it's tinted blue, and you pour fresh water into it, fresh clear water, what does the water look like in the glass? Blue. If you have a red tinted glass and you pour water in it, what does now the water look like? Red. It's the same water, perfectly clear, pure, but it appears to us relative to the shade of the glass. So the same with the light. The light is pure. Our job is to purify, if you will, that tint from red or blue or whatever color it is into clear, so that we are expressing and we benefit from that pure light that shines out of us into the world. So then we learn from Kabbalah 1 forward, every challenge that comes our way. One, as we spoke a little today, exactly cause and effect, because my soul, the universe, wants to give me an opportunity to pay back the debt. Those of you who may still use a credit card, what do they send you at the end of the month? Statement, a bill, right? You charged $1,000 on your credit card during the month. They send you a bill for $1,000. How come you just thought, that's so unfair? Why do they want to get $1,000 from me? And don't tell me you've never forgotten one or two charges, right? You look at your bill and say, wait, what was that? And then you have to look around, you have to think, oh yeah, that's right, I did that. You get the same idea. So comes an opportunity to stop being angry or jealous or fearful, to pay it back, but we forget about it. Why? Because we're in that darkness of that very same thing. So we learn that every challenge is our opportunity to pay that debt, which means what? The challenge is coming with light. But we're still in the darkness of our fear. So when the light comes in to help us overcome fear, first it's blinding, right? We get awakened to a fearful emotion. What do we learn in the center? Pause. Stop. Do you want to pay off your debt or, heaven forbid, increase your debt? That's your choice in that moment. But it's bright light. So then when a person is in a challenge and they act with the jealousy or the fear or the judgment or whatever it is, they're just going back to the movie theater. They're adding another amount to their spiritual debt. So then the next challenge has to come their way, has to be that much more, right? Like the next bill. Person doesn't pay their bill on time. What comes next? Do they just say, well, okay, I know you're a nice person, so just, give us the same amount we asked you last month? No, there's an added penalty, late fee, interest, all those things. And the more a person doesn't pay, the bigger the bill gets. Why should that not be the same thing spiritually? So here's where the opponent, the parasite that we programmed, comes in and says, oh, because God is so kind and nice, God will just take away the bill. Show me. Show me when in the last 2, 3, 4, 5,000 years that's ever happened. If that could happen, why doesn't it happen all the time? If the creator, whatever your form of creator, if you're in the center, the light, how come the light doesn't stop it from the beginning? As we learn, we came here for a purpose. Let our light shine so we could feel and experience the bliss of sharing our light. What's a spoiled kid? Don't want to include us. We're not kids anymore. But when those kids are spoiled, what does a spoiled kid mean? Usually, in simple terms, it means the parents didn't make them earn their way. Didn't make them work for what they were given. Just in simple terms. And I'm not saying parents had a bad intent. The sad part is usually it's the opposite. Parents who went through a difficult time, like my parents went through the Depression. Back then, history, those of you who are younger, go Google it. Right? They went through the Depression. So there were a lot of parents who went through depression. They just wanted to give their kids everything so they didn't have to struggle like their parents did. Good intent, but you and I understand that's what ultimately caused them to be spoiled. And sadly, even at the end of the story, how did they show? Some of the kids, what would they do? They hate their parents. They run away from their parents. Even there were cases, okay, you can search it yourself, but there were kids who killed their parents. Rich kids from rich families, literally killed their parents. If you look at it Kabbalistically, why? Because the parents just gave and gave and gave and gave and never really made them do anything for it. So you and I understand from Kabbalah 1, you can't do that. We're here to earn by our effort all the revelation of the light, and therefore lasting joy, lasting peace, not temporary. But the only way you do that is when you clarify, purify your vessel. Take away the tint of the anger and the fear and the jealousy and all of that. That's how it works. But every challenge is not God punishing us. It's not that we did something bad. It's because our soul wants us to have greater bliss. But you got to pay your debt. Yeah, I see you can already feel it. No, that's why we don't have billions of people yet learning. Because they're not suffering enough to say, I'll do anything. You and I, hopefully, we're getting to that point. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to have my piece of eternal bliss, to have my piece of the Garden of Eden. So I'm willing to forgive that person. I'm willing to be happy or more joyous or more grateful or more generous because I want my piece of eternal bliss. And I know the Creator's put it inside of me. I just have to let it out. So let me give you a few examples. So we have the idea. Every challenge is just bright light coming. Why is it bright? It's the same light as always, like the water. But it's because of our vessel is tinted it, so we've put ourselves in a darkened space, so when the light comes in, it looks bright. And that's where our choice comes from. So challenge occurs. We're in that shell of darkness. And that voice comes inside of us and says, you know, you're supposed to have that promotion, but they got the promotion. So you just colored your vessel, added to it, at least with the thought, of the green of jealousy, as they say. Right? So it's jealousy wakes up. They got the promotion you're supposed to have. So now you're jealous of them. Well, the pure light wants to come in, but it's shaded with jealousy. So now comes our choice. Do we want to darken it even more with jealousy, cover up that pure light in the light of our soul? Or do we want to start acting with gratitude? You know what? I'm happy for their promotion because I have a greater awakening since I'm learning here in the center. The Creator put everything inside me. Nobody can take away whatever's been given to me. And how do I know, in the big picture of things, how do I know that promotion, even though I thought it's supposed to be mine, how do I know, as we said, that something I did in this lifetime, or maybe even in a past lifetime, took away the promotion from that person, or took away some good from that person? Now the universe gives me a chance to pay it back. So instead of being jealous, I want to be happy for their good. I want to be happy for their promotion. What did I just do? I adjusted my spiritual eyes, as we were saying, so now I can receive and awaken and reveal the light of greater gratitude. And what is that added light going to bring me? Added blessings. Because all of our true blessings come from the light that we reveal by shining it out, not by the light we try and get. Jealousy is trying to get light that doesn't belong to us. So when you express gratitude, you let the light of gratitude, appreciation, happiness for other people's good, then the light can manifest that higher blessing for you. Or what about insecurity? None of us have any insecurity, I'm sure. But for your friends, so you'll be able to help them with it, right? What is insecurity? It's that glass of our pure light soul, our pure light being covered in, I'm not good enough, I'm not going to make it, I'm not successful, how can I be? Look at the world, it's showing me, I've tried so many times, all of that, coloring the glass. The pure light inside of us wants to come out and show us, no, we're all powerful beings. We have the power of the Creator inside of us. We created, don't say they created. You and I created this physical universe. We're stronger than whatever you want to call it. Nuclear energy, atomic energy, the most powerful energy in the physical world. Think about it. The power of creation is a zillion times more powerful than that. And it's sitting inside of us, just waiting to come out. But we've allowed that challenger, that parasite, that evil inclination, angel of death, to talk to us and tell us, oh no, you can't do it. Look, you tried 10 times, it didn't work. No, purify the glass. Act with certainty. Act knowing that you have the power of the Creator. Doesn't mean you can run over everybody. That's not the power. That's still the power of the reactivity. No, be happy for their good. Express trust. You know, I have the power. Let me just keep going. Maybe the 11th try it'll work. We programmed that challenger to try and stop us just before the good shows up. Thomas Edison, you know the story? To create the light bulb. Obviously he had a vision of the perfection of a light bulb. But in order to get it to work, he had to go through 10,000 experiments, different materials till he found tungsten. 10,000. What if he had stopped at 9,999? We could still be sitting here in the dark. Or that idea could have come through somebody else also. But in that way, so don't say I tried 10 times, 20 times, 30 times, 50 times. When you have the security that the light fills your soul, you just keep going at it. And maybe start to think about, seek, search, ask, truly with an open heart, how am I blocking myself? Not how are they blocking me? How are they putting me down? How do I block myself? Because sometimes we may even try, but you're trying half-hearted. So then it's not real. It's not full. So you don't really change the color of that glass, but you think you did. So you try half-hearted 3, 4, 5 times. See, it doesn't work. Insecurity. Settle for less. Act small. No. You could go right down the list. Anger, the same thing. Colored the glass with anger. So when the light shines, what's the first thing we're going to notice? The anger. That's why don't ever let your opponent tell you, oh, you know, I got rid of my anger. I know I grew up with anger and this and this and this, but I overcame it. I haven't been angry in 20 years. And then something happens, the anger shows up, right? I've mentored people like that. Chaim, you don't know. I got rid of my anger and this person did this thing and I was so angry. See, they made me angry because I have been angry for 20 years. No, nobody can make you anything. All they can do, even we say, but we're not conscious. What does it mean when you say somebody pushed my buttons? They pushed my button. We don't say, you know, Joe Smith did this thing and they gave me a button. No, they pushed my button, which means I had the button already. Just because I didn't notice it for 20 years didn't mean it's still sitting, wasn't sitting there. Just means nobody pushed it or nothing pushed it. So my soul finally realized, you know what? I may have gotten rid of 95% of my anger. Still 5%. And we're not going to settle for 99.9999 because the Creator gave us 100%. Our job is to have 100%. So then even after 20 years, it's nice. 20 years, no anger. But when it shows up once more, say, oh, that's the last piece. So then you act with forgiveness, tolerance, kindness, not resentment. Take the coloring away from the glass. Let it be just crystal clear so the clarity of the light shines through. That's our job. Think something in your life is that way. How are you coloring your glasses? And you do. When you go out to the sun, especially here in Florida, what do most people wear when they go out in the sun? Sunglasses. What do the sunglasses do? They block the light. Now, I'm not telling you not to wear sunglasses, but I want you to understand the idea. The colored glasses, that's it. We put on the glasses of jealousy, so everywhere we look, we see jealousy or things to be jealous of. We put on the glasses of judgment, so everything we look at, we see reason to be judgmental. We feel lack. People feel lack and limitation. Oh, they can't be, not even tithing. Tithing, 10%, every religion teaches it, but people don't understand the true meaning of it. But there are people who say, oh, you know, yeah, they made $10,000, tithing is 10%, give away 1,000. No, I can't afford it. Can't afford it. Really? Glasses of poverty, glasses of limitation. Even the glasses of why should I? I made the money. Not even that, maybe they don't feel even the lack, but why should I give that tithing? I worked, right? I did it. Really? How did you wake up in the morning? Because you woke yourself up? Or the creator of the universe let your soul come back in your body? Unfortunately, every day there's people, the soul doesn't come back. But the body's still perfectly functional, right? Athlete in their prime. So you know the body functions, but if there's no energy, meaning the soul doesn't come back into the body doesn't work on its own. So where do you think you got your ability and your capability and the energy to go to work and do whatever it is you do to get whatever you get? Yeah, so the law is the spiritual obligation. Give 10% back. So don't let the glasses of poverty or lack or limitation tell you, no, you can't afford it. The opposite, you can't afford not to. That's why everybody teaches tithing brings riches. Because we know it opens up the vessel. Lets the flow come through more. Doesn't block it. So the same thing. How much forgiveness did the Creator give you? 100%. How much ability to be kind and loving and tolerant and all of that? 100%. So it's all the same concept. Got to let it shine. Don't limit yourself. Forgive everybody. And again, doesn't mean you have to hang out with them. Doesn't mean you have to stay in the same situation you're in now. The beauty of letting the light shine is the light will guide us. We won't be guided by the darkness. We won't be guided here. Okay. Just sort of in closing, because I see the time is going. And this was given to me, this trip to LA, because I was talking to somebody and telling them that I had this experience. Okay, I'm going to read you the essence of it, but I'm telling you this experience. And then 2 days later, he says, I found in a book, it's 200 years old, from one of the great Kabbalists, Rabbi Chaim of Volozhin. He wrote the same thing that I saw. So I'm going to read it to you. The evil inclination in his root is an angel among the other angels on high. His true task is to be the angel of life and not the angel of death. So there's no angel of death. It's the angel of life who has to do this job. His purpose is to seduce and be overpowered. And one who truly overpowers him merits eternal life. So that means when you're feeling the jealousy, the anger, the lack, the limitation, the judgment, the fear, the insecurity, that's that voice, the angel of life, just playing its role. Oh, you can't do this, you can't do... No, our job is to overpower it with love and forgiveness and kindness and compassion and generosity and humility. The one who transforms him into the angel of death is the fool who listens to him. Understand then how enraged the evil inclination is against that person. In his root, he was meant to be the angel of life, but that person was foolish enough to listen to him, and he became the angel of death. For this, he stands in opposition to that person, becoming his bitterest enemy. Accordingly, the angel of death at his head is an angel of the angels on high, but his body was transformed into the angel of death by us. We were the ones who affected this transformation. His death is our death. We brought death into the world. We made him into the angel of death. So every day, we have the opportunity to decide what we want in our life. The angel of death, and don't think angel of death only means taking the person's soul out of the body. The angel of death is also what suddenly brings the bad health, the bad business, the troubled mind, the chaos and confusion, the terrible relationships. It's the same thing. But as we just read, we programmed it, and we're the ones to decide, are we foolish enough to let it continue as the angel of death, limitation? Or are we the ones who are going to extract the angel of life and the light out of the angel of death? The beauty is, since we're all connected, the more you and I will act and do those actions of uncomfortable sharing, forgiving the unforgivable person, being kind to the nasty person. And again, doesn't mean you have to hang out with them. But from your point of view, your world is your creation. Like those friends that didn't like the movie that you thought was amazing. They created in their way, you created in your way. So we want to create our piece of the Garden of Eden by acting with greater. What do we affirm? Greater. Doesn't mean we never did. Greater love, compassion, and kindness towards all human beings. Because I want my piece of the Garden of Eden. So I have to, if I want it enough, I have to be more forgiving and more kind and more generous and more humble and all of that. And the beauty is, as more of us are entering into our piece of the Garden of Eden, what do you think everybody else is going to want? Their piece of the Garden of Eden. So then we are causing the acceleration of people voluntarily paying back their debt, voluntarily being more kind and compassionate. Even a person feels sick, person has an ailment. Two choices. The angel of death, and we're using that specifically, but it's all the forms of that challenge. What is the angel of death say? Oh, go for yourself. Pray for your own healing. Pray for your own this. Scan even the Zohar for your own healing. No. Channel the light of healing out. You want the healing to be expressed, so to speak, outside in your life. You got to let the light of healing come out of you out. So when you send the light of healing to every person on earth, then more healing comes out of you through you, and your cells will heal themselves. You want more prosperity. Don't say, I'm scanning the Zohar. Give me prosperity. Give me. We're full. We're full of the light. All we have to do is let it out. You channel for everybody else the light of prosperity. More of your prosperity has to show up. You want the right relationship. Let the light of finding the right relationship channel out of you for everybody else. Don't be foolish and say, no, give me for myself. I want. No, the Creator gave us. Creator gave us. Don't look at the world. There are no evil people. I know the world's showing us all kinds of things, but now if you understand what we said today, there are no evil people. They're beings of light, pure and perfect beings of light, like all of us, that are just under the influence of all those shades to do those negative actions, but they're not evil people. If the angel of death is not the angel of death, but an angel of light and life, then how can there be evil people? There are pure beings of light that are also waiting to escape from the covering of their jealousy and anger and murder and violence and all of that. And you and I are the ones who can affect it more than anybody else on the planet, because we understand what we're learning here. We understand the tools, most powerful tool in the universe. And this is just a piece of it. Pocket Zohar. The Zohar is the most powerful energy in the universe. It is literally the light of the Creator of the endless world itself. When there's enough of this in the world, all the darkness will disappear. It's not complicated. Light removes darkness. The trouble with this is our eyes. We're using the eyes of our body and not the eyes of our heart. Because what does it look like? Book. You have lots of books at home, but whoever told you that book will remove the angel of death and let it become the angel of life? That book has the power through it, not by what it says, just the energy that channels through it. All the self-help books out there, you've got to follow the steps and do what they say. No, this is just waking up the light inside you. When you wake up the light, everybody will change. So let's stop being foolish. And I know it's not an easy thing, but this is why Karen told the Rav, we have to create Kabbalah centers, bring people together. Because every religion on earth that I know of in some way or another says where more people are gathered, the energy is exponential. It's quantum. 1 and 1 could be 20. 20 and 20 could be thousands. Few thousands could be billions. That's why we gather together. So that in unity, what my blockage is overwhelmed by your light. What your blockages are overwhelmed by our light. So everybody's light is helping to overwhelm that angel of death that's trying to oppose us because we gave it power, and together we can turn it back into the angel of life. And then we can live for the rest of the time given in this world, peace, love, unity, happiness, and joy. God bless. Okay. So let's do our offering. It's a free will offering. I want to thank those of you who are constantly supporting us, because we can't do it on our own. I wish I could say we had a few $billion in the bank, then we wouldn't need to ask you, right? But then again, you wouldn't have the ability of, one of the teachers actually called it, when people donate to the center, they're actually leasing the technology of the center. So of late, and I know you should be getting hopefully soon, but there's what we've called that we started a while ago when they had this day of hate out there. So we decided we would create students around the world doing the wave of love. People out there handing out Zohars, whether it's the pocket Zohar, whether it's the sacred Zohar. And so they're trying to put together a little video of all of that, because it's amazing. All over the world, people are receiving, because so much chaos in the world. When I started 36 years ago, we used to go knocking on doors to say, hey, we have these amazing books, Channel the Light. You don't know how tough it was, how many doors got slammed in our faces. Now you go and you say, hey, we want to give you this book of light and blessings, health and happiness. People say, please. They're much more open. It's like 99% will say yes, and maybe 1% will still be a little worried or cautious about it. So you empower not only Spiritual Sunday, but all the projects of the center. And this is why we always bless the offering. So for those of you online, let me share with you the website to do that. Those of you here, just hold your offering in your hands, because money is a vessel, and we want to fill that vessel with all the light possible. So that's it. We just want to awaken gratitude, appreciation, to really have conscious acknowledgement that we are the vessel, the conduit. We are the manager of what the Creator has given us, implanted in our soul. And this generosity is one way to manage well the resources that the Creator has given us. Empowering the mission of the center, which is to bring peace, harmony to 8 billion people on the planet, excluding nobody. Because everybody is a piece of the Creator. And so we inject it with light and love and gratitude and the energy to awaken the heart and soul of every person on earth. And we know by empowering these projects gives us added strength to be more kind, more compassionate, more forgiving, even more apologetic, to pay back what we may owe through our negative actions, to judge for good, to be more happy, to have greater peace and protection. And now we send this out to everybody on earth to have the same love, kindness, compassion, peace. And together we say, Amen. So let's do our meditation on one of the 72 names. Since we talked about the angel of death and what I read you, so we're going to use this Nun Yud Taf. If you're unfamiliar, the Hebrew letters or Aramaic letters, they're the same. They just shine the light of the Creator. They shine the light of the endless world. It's just simple. In the scientific way, photons are the particles of the physical light. In a spiritual level, the Hebrew letters are the photons of light. And that's why, whatever language you know, they all come from the original soul language called Hebrew. It doesn't belong to any group. It belongs to our soul. And as we often remind ourselves, the soul is the only thing in common with every person on earth. Once you go to an expression of that soul's light, we are whatever, men and women, white, black, yellow, brown, Jew, Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, doctor, lawyers, Indian chiefs, whatever it may be, but the soul is the common factor. And that's why we call this technology, the technology of the soul. And that's why we've always been open for every human being on earth. So these three combinations of energy forces, Nun, Yud, Taf, just awaken immortality, which is what you said today, the end of the angel of death, and letting it be and do its job as the angel of life. So you're just looking at it, Nun, Yud, Taf, and just let the shapes be engraved in your mind's eye, because it's those shapes that come from the endless world and manifest, in this case, this combination, immortality, which is the true nature of our soul. So let me ask you, just sit comfortably in your chair, feet flat on the floor, hands on your lap. Take a few deep breaths, breathing in through the nose. Hold the breath for a moment. Exhale through your mouth. Breathing in through your nose. Hold that breath. Let the breath of life fill you from head to toe. And then exhale through your mouth, letting go whatever tension, blockages, confusion may be. Just allowing yourself to become a higher, pure vessel, conduit of the light of the Creator. Just relax into the warmth of the embrace of the light of the Creator. Feel the light surrounding you. Feel, experience the light as it's awakening to yet a higher level inside you. With each breath, activating more and more of the light in every cell of your body. For regeneration and rejuvenation. So let's envision above our head the three light force particles of Nun, Yud, Taf. And seeing the beam of light from above, ultimately from the endless world, flowing its energy down in and through the Nun, Yud, Taf, that we can see it shining with the bright, powerful light of the endless. That the energies of these three particles joining together bringing about the energy of immortality. The removal of all blockages, all limitations. And so let these bright glowing energy forces, nanoparticles of the light, Nun, Yud, Taf, enter through the top of your head. And let this energy travel from head to toe, shining through every cell of your body, awakening the pure light of the Creator that exists in every cell. That you see yourself glowing with this light. Feel this vibration of your pure soul that is immortal. For it is just the light of the Creator, pure and perfect. Let's focus together the Nun Yud Taf, bringing it into our heart. Taking away the limitation, the illusion that we are 8 billion separate beings, and allowing us to see with the eyes of our heart there is truly only one being on earth, that we are all essential parts of. And allow yourself to feel through the Nun Yud Taf, through the eyes of your heart, extending it out to the heart of each person on earth. That through their heart, we feel the pain of their soul that wants to be free, wants to bring each and every one of us eternal blessings. Let yourself feel the pain of that unexpressed soul. That altogether, very consciously, with focused intensity, beam more light out of our soul to each human being on earth, directly to their heart and soul. And notice as you're doing that, the flow from above, flowing through you, expands, intensifies, increases. That you feel your life vibrating on a higher level. All your thoughts guided by the pure thoughts of the Creator. Feeling the awakening that's happening in you, and seeing the awakening in every person on earth. That all of our souls having more influence on us, guiding our actions, guiding our words and our thoughts. That we see humanity happier, more loving, more kind. and see this collective energy of light and love, extracting the angel of life from its job as the angel of death. That the only manifest force, is the angel of life. And that pure life inside every human being, the singular power, the singular voice of guidance. And in this state, ask your soul for a message. What do I need to know now? What's the most important sharing act I can do now to reveal the most light I am able now? What your soul has told you, commit yourself to move it into action today. Know that the light you reveal through that action will bring you blessings, greater fulfillment, guidance, and clarity. Together we'll take one more deep breath to anchor this into our heart and soul. Slowly exhale as you're opening your eyes. Those of you online, thank you for joining us. Those of you here, thank you for coming. Have an amazing day, amazing week. And those of you, again, whatever miracles, whatever stories, experiences you have, please write me, let me know, Facebook Messenger me, whatever it takes. And those of you who would like to perhaps schedule a one-on-one meeting, that's also possible. You can write me about that also. God bless. Have a great afternoon, a great day, a great week. Until we meet again. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. If you liked what you saw, subscribe to this channel that you'll be notified when we post new videos. Share the video with your friends, they can also benefit. And check out the website, www.kabbalah.com, that's Kabbalah, for hundreds of articles and classes. Wish you an amazing day, and God bless.